My husband kissed another woman in front of 200 people. Not in secret, not by mistake. Right there at the center of the ballroom, with a champagne glass raised in his hand and a smile that made my skin go cold. The room went dead quiet. I stood beside him in my silver dress, still holding the card with the thank you speech I was supposed to give. My name is Natasha. I was 38 that night, and I learned how quickly a marriage could turn into a public execution.
This feels like the right moment,
Damian said, still looking at the attending physician he had just kissed.
I'm ending this marriage. Effective now.
A few people laughed. They thought it was some cruel joke. It wasn't. The physician looked shocked, but not shocked enough. That was the first thing I noticed. The second was the way Damian wouldn't look at me at all. My fingers tightened around the card. Then I saw the stranger standing near the back wall, tall, still, watching everything like he already knew how this would end. I walked straight toward him. Damian finally turned. "Natasha," he snapped. I placed my hand on the stranger's arm, and the whole room changed. The moment my hand touched his arm, the air shifted. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but people felt it. The music cut off mid-note. Conversations died like someone flipped a switch. Even the waitstaff stopped moving. I didn't understand why. Not yet. The man didn't pull away. He didn't even look surprised. He just turned his head slightly and looked down at my hand. Then at me. Calm. Too calm. "Are you sure?" he asked quietly. His voice didn't match the room. It was steady, controlled, like none of this chaos mattered to him. I swallowed. "No," I said honestly, "but I'm done standing still." Behind me, I heard heels rushing across the marble floor. "Natasha, what are you doing?" My colleague, Elise, grabbed my wrist, trying to pull me back. Her grip tightened. Then she leaned in, her voice dropping into something almost panicked. "Do you even know who you just touched?" That's when I realized something was wrong. Not with Damian. Not with the scene. With him. The man didn't move, didn't react. He just watched me like I'd stepped into something I couldn't see. I slowly pulled my hand back. Too late, because across the room, Damian's face had gone pale. I'd never seen Damian look afraid before. Not once in 10 years. He thrived on control, on being the one everyone watched. But now, his smile was gone. His hand trembled slightly around the glass. "Natasha," he said again, quieter this time. "Step away." That word. Not "come here." Not "talk to me." Step away. Like I had touched something dangerous. I turned back to the man. He hadn't moved. His posture stayed relaxed, but his eyes, they were fixed on Damian now, studying him, measuring him. "Interesting," he said under his breath. I frowned. "What is?" He didn't answer. Across the room, Elise stepped between us, her voice shaking. "You need to apologize. Right now." "For what?" I asked. She stared at me like I'd lost my mind. "You don't just walk up and touch him like that." I let out a short, confused breath. "He's a person, not Natasha." Her voice cracked. "He's not just anyone." Silence stretched. Then the man finally spoke again, calm as ever. "She's right about one thing," he said. I looked at him. His gaze didn't leave mine. "I'm not just anyone." And that's when I noticed. Security had quietly surrounded the room. I didn't see them come in. That was the worst part. 1 second, it was just guests and soft music. The next, men in dark suits were standing near every exit. Not obvious, not aggressive, just there, watching, blocking. I felt it in my chest, tight, heavy. "What is this?" I whispered. No one answered. The man beside me finally stepped forward, just one small movement, but the entire room reacted. People straightened. Voices dropped even lower. Respect or fear. I couldn't tell. Damian set his glass down too carefully. "This isn't necessary," he said, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "We're just having a private misunderstanding." The man tilted his head slightly. "Is that what you call it?" His tone was still calm. Too calm. Damian swallowed. "You're making a scene." A pause. Then the man looked at me again. "Did you invite him to do that?" he asked. I blinked. "What?" He nodded toward the physician. My stomach dropped. "No." "Good," he said softly. Something in the way he said it made my skin crawl. Behind me, Elise whispered, "Natasha, you need to leave. Now." But I couldn't move, because the man took another step closer, and Damian stepped back. Damian never stepped back from anyone. Not in business, not in life. But he did now. One step, then another. Small, careful, like he was calculating distance. "I think we've misunderstood each other," he said, voice tight. "There's no reason to escalate this." The man didn't respond right away. He just watched him, silent. Then, "You announced a divorce," he said, publicly, without warning. Damian forced a laugh. "Personal matter." "No," the man replied calmly. "Not anymore." That's when I felt it. This wasn't about embarrassment. This was about control. And Damian was losing it. I looked between them. "Someone tell me what's going on." Elise shook her head fast. "Stop talking." But I didn't. "I deserve to know," I said, louder now. The man turned to me fully. His voice softened just a little. "You touched me," he said, "which means this involves you now." My heart skipped. "Involves me how?" A pause. Then, "Your husband has been using my hospital," he said, "to move things that don't belong there." The room went still again. I stared at Damian. He didn't deny it, and that scared me more than anything. I felt the floor shift under me. "Move? What?" I asked. My voice didn't sound like mine anymore. Damian didn't answer. He just stood there, jaw tight, eyes flicking between me and the man like he was trying to calculate an exit. "There's been a pattern," the man said calmly. "Records altered. Deliveries rerouted. People paid to stay quiet." Each word landed heavier than the last. I shook my head slowly. "No, that doesn't make sense." "It doesn't have to," he replied. "It just has to be true." I turned to Damian. "Tell me he's wrong." Silence. That was my answer. Something inside me cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just gone. "Why?" I whispered. He finally looked at me, and for the first time that night, I saw something real in his eyes. Not anger, not control, fear. "I was fixing things," he said under his breath. "Systems are broken. I just redirected them." "By using a hospital?" I said. He didn't respond. The man stepped closer, voice low. "You didn't just redirect systems," he said. A pause, then, "You moved people." The word hit me harder than anything else. "People?" I repeated. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe right. Damian's eyes snapped to me. "It's not what it sounds like." That made it worse. "It's exactly what it sounds like," the man said calmly. "Patients transferred without consent. Identities adjusted. Files erased." I stared at my husband. My husband. "Tell me you didn't do that," I said. He stepped forward, this time. Careful. Slow. "I protected them," he said. "Some of those people would have died in that system." I shook my head. "That's not your decision." "No." He snapped quietly. "It's no one's. That's the problem." The room felt smaller. like the walls were closing in. The man beside me didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to.
You don't save people by erasing them,
He said.
Damian's jaw clenched. You don't understand what I built.
I understand enough, the man replied. A long silence. Then Damian looked at me again. Not angry, not cold, desperate.
Natasha,
He said softly,
come with me. Right now.
I froze, because for the first time, I didn't know who I was standing next to. I looked at Damian, really looked at him. 10 years together. And I couldn't recognize the man asking me to trust him. I can't, I said. My voice was quiet, but it held. Something in his face broke. Not anger, not control, just defeat.
You don't understand what happens if I stay,
He said. I think I do, I replied. Behind him, the men in suits stepped forward, not rushing, not aggressive, certain. Damian glanced at them, then back at me. His eyes searched mine one last time like he was hoping I'd change my mind. I didn't. He exhaled slowly. I did it for a reason. Then live with it, I said. That was it. No shouting, no scene. They took him quietly, like he'd never been in control at all. The room stayed silent long after he was gone. I stood there, still trying to catch up to a life I didn't recognize anymore. The man beside me finally spoke.
You handled that well.
I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding.
I had no choice.
He studied me for a moment, then said,
You did.
and somehow, that stayed with me longer than anything else.